Yo, what is the deal, everybody? Salute to everybody in the chat. Welcome to Fourth and Wasted, or Ray Nation Unlimited, whichever one you like to slice it. What's going on, everybody? What is going on? Everybody peel in the room, peel in the room. But look, man, telling you right now, yo, there's a lot to talk about. There is a lot to talk about, everybody. Blessings. Salute to my guy, Aaron Hilltop, Phil Boger, Kenny Mack, Isaiah. Oh, my God, Dark Side Judah. I mean, my God, man. But listen, Loco is in the place, man. Salute to all of the mods in the place, too, man. Look, we're going to go over a few things today, right? So we got a situation where, Ryan Clark got fired from ESPN. My guy Willie Clark is in the place. Ryan Clark got fired. We're going to go over that whole situation over at ESPN because it's, I think it's something that needs to be talked about because, at the end of the day, all of these things, man, when we start talking about Ryan Clark, what they're doing over at ESPN, the layoffs, and ESPN acquiring NFL Network, I feel like it is a space in a place where, the level of quality we're going to get on, NFL coverage in the league is going to be kind of affected by some of these things that are going on. Salute to my guy, David Walker, in the place, man. Salute to everybody in the place. But there is going to be a definite change in the way the league is covered throughout the league, man. And, so today, listen, man, the whole Ryan Clark situation. Now, the league is a vast place, right? But there are only certain outlets that people can go to, right? You have ESPN, you have NFL Network, and now they've merged and they've become, instead of competitors, they are pretty much the exact same network, right? So I think that, with the Ryan Clark situation, one of the big reasons why ESPN made the move that they made is because of the simple fact that they acquired all of this talent, right? And when you start talking about, talent, these guys got to get paid, right? And ESPN has paid millions of dollars per year to select talent. And, there are a lot of other people that are going to get shown the door. Now, Pat McAfee, from what I'm hearing, is going to get upwards of $60 million a year. They have to compensate for that. And then ESPN is looking at it from a perspective of, we have so many different former players, so many different talking heads. They have a lot of overhead when it comes to some of the on-air talent. And over the past several months, ESPN has made a lot of changes integrating the NFL assets into ESPN, right? So, they said they've taken time to evaluate the collective team and the resources and the organizational structure. And I'm going to be honest with you. They made some difficult decisions and they got rid of Ryan Clark. Now, there are a lot of people that feels that, Ryan Clark was let go because of some of, his takes. A lot of people feel like Ryan Clark was let go because, they feel like he's supposedly too woke, whatever that means, right? And to me, that really doesn't have much to do with it, right? And I don't think that that's really a fair way to frame this because of the simple fact that, listen, Ryan Clark, man, salute to my guy CGR in the place, man. But Ryan Clark is a guy that, to me, bro, is in an untenable situation, right? And I see a lot of people on Twitter that are killing Ryan Clark. A lot of people are talking bad about him. There are a lot of people who wants to see him, fail. People want to see Ryan Clark kind of get fired. And I see people on Twitter, kind of applauding this. And I think that's foul. You know what I mean? Because this is a man with a family, that's a job. He's never done anything wrong. And I think that, there are a lot of people who don't like his takes, and they don't realize the position Ryan Clark is in, right? They don't realize the position you're in, right? Being a person of color in this country, right? When there is something that happens socially, right? Because what winds up happening is, and I'm just speaking from experience, right? If I go to my church, or I go to a fraternity, or I'm around my family, or I'm around the people that I know in my neighborhood, right? And I have an opinion about something, and we talk about that opinion, and they know what my stance on that is, right? And then I go on television, and then I don't have any opinion on it. That really is a tough position to be in, because when you go back to the people that you deal with on a daily basis, right? Those said people are going to say, what happened to all that smoke you had when we was in the barbershop, bro? Now, see, for me, I don't ever let that influence the way I deal with my opinions, right? Because I understand that, there is your work self, there's your public self, and there's your private self, right? And I get that. But Ryan Clark and a lot of guys and a lot of players in the network, I feel like there should be a space for them to express themselves when there's social issues and they're asked about it, right? Like, because if you don't really want to know, don't ask me. If you really don't want to know, don't ask me, right? Because I'm sure enough going to tell you if you ask me, right? Because I'm not going to get into the situation and not really give you my real opinion, right? And I think that Ryan Clark was a much needed voice up at ESPN. I really do. I believe Ryan Clark was a much needed voice at ESPN, and I believe that, the network is worse for him not being there. He has his own podcast, and I think that, his podcast is a great podcast, man. It really is. The Pivot, I think the Pivot is really much better than the previous iteration of that, when you start talking about that the I Am Athlete podcast. I believe that Brandon Marshall really screwed that whole thing up, right? And all of the guys with talent over there, he allowed them to go off and get their own platforms, and now they're outshining him, right? But the difference between being on Monday Night Football, having millions and millions of viewers, and having a podcast that you do 4 times a month is completely different. And I think Ryan Clark is in a bad situation because of the simple fact that all of the different networks have filled their positions right now. And he got fired in the middle of the show, and I thought it was a little tasteless, right? And I think that, ESPN could have done better by him. Now that's not on me, right? I got my own little podcast. I'm not on the network, but I think that was just bad business. I think RC deserved better than that, man. But, listen, man, that is one of the reasons and the power of platforms such as this, right? Seriously, man. But, listen, they didn't really give him a little compassion or respect, man. They didn't do that. They fired the guy in the middle of the show. And it kind of goes to show you where ESPN is going as a network, right? And I feel like just sports media in general is becoming a big echo chamber, right? I believe that a lot of what's going on sports media is all copycat stuff. It's all these posse shows with a bunch of different people debating each other. And I think we need to get back to the place where, we just start reporting what goes on and let the people that are watching surmise what they'd like to. Seriously. And I feel like, Disney, since they've really took over the roost at ESPN, I feel like ESPN has taken, a grave step back, man. Charles Grant was let go. Tom Pelissaro was let go. There's more than Ryan Clark that were let go. And there were a lot of great guys up there. And I feel like the quality of reporting and actual information really is really taking a step back. Now, listen, You know, my guy George Sarah says that RC is a Raider hater. I mean, look, man, RC's a Steeler. Yeah, what do you expect? Yeah, RC is a Steeler, bro. What do you expect? He is a Steeler, yo. He is a Steeler. And look, man, but at the end of the day, man, I think that ESPN is in a situation where I believe that the quality is definitely going to suffer. I believe that sports media is really in flux right now because they're going more towards a metric that is not really conducive to people who understand the game. There are a lot of people out there that really want to just talk the sport. They don't always need to do these top 10 lists. They don't always need to have this situation where there are people talking over each other and debating each other. And you got a lot of guys that are debating on these debate shows who are not qualified to really form a real opinion, right? Now, some would say that, the exchange between Pete Schrager and, Ryan Clark is one of the reasons why he's not there. I don't tend to believe that. I don't tend to believe that, man. And I'm going to be honest with you. There's a reason why independent creators and athlete-led platforms are changing sports coverage, because you want information and not affirmation, man. But I believe that Ryan Clark, man, if he plays his cards right, could be even bigger outside of ESPN. He really can, man. He really can. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys think ESPN's better without having RC up there, man? I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. Now let's get to football, right? Now, in the title, you guys see it, right? There are a lot of free agents that are available out there, man. And yeah, you know what? Before I switch speeds, you guys are right, man. You guys are right, man. You guys are right. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. ESPN is not good in general, bro. I don't believe that ESPN is the ESPN I grew up on. And before I was gonna move on to the next topic, but you're right. ESPN is not the place where Chris Berman was. It's not the place where Tom Mees was. It's not the place where Charlie Steiner was or Dick Schaap or any. It's not that place anymore, bro. Dan Patrick, Keith Olbermann before he went off the reservation, like Stuart Scott. It is not the place. And it's like, bro, you got a situation where everybody is trying to follow the model that Skip Bayless is trying to give to everybody. Everybody is trying to do the Skip Bayless thing. That everybody's trying to do the Stephen A thing, and it's enough of that. Listen, I have no problem with the Pat McAfee show. I'm gonna be honest with you. I enjoy the Pat McAfee show. I believe he has too many people on set with him. And it's kind of hard to keep up with. There's too many people that really shouldn't have an opinion. But when it was Pat McAfee and like AJ Hawk, and then he'd have on, Bruce Arians from time to time, it was a great show. It was a great show. I believe that now you have a situation where you have a lot of opinions and not a lot of information anymore. And that's the problem. Like sometimes I just want to turn on Sports Center and see highlights. I don't need to see all of that. And I believe that's parts of the reason you guys are all here, man. Like Big Mike said, hot take, media drama, soap opera shit. That's it, and that's a fact, man. But guys, look, let's transition into the happens and the comings and goings of the league, man. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw, the Rex Ryan situation. I mean, how many of you guys saw Rex Ryan's comments about Shedeur Sanders? I mean, how many of you guys saw Foot Sex Rex and his opinions about Shedeur Sanders, man? I mean, look, man, Rex Ryan, bro, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know if, and see, in today's media, right, it sucks because you have to almost, you have to kind of wonder. You got to wonder to yourself, right? Exactly why Rex Ryan's always taking shots at Shedeur Sanders, right? Why? Like, does he really not care for the kid, or is it a way for him to try to get himself in the algorithm? Is it a way for him to get himself in the public consciousness? You have to almost ask yourself, right? Like, look, I'm gonna be honest with you, right? Like, so Shador Sanders posted this picture outside in front of his house. He's doing his social media, right? He's having a photo shoot. And Rex Ryan says, and then you can see at the bottom, get a load of this kid. Great talent needs to. I want to click this for you guys so you can see. Great talent needs to realize as a franchise QB, there has to be more than me, more we than me. Come on, man. So look, the thing for me is this, right? I gotta ask myself, Shador Sanders taking a picture in front of his house, how is that self-aggrandizing behavior? Or, you know, being a guy that is not about the collective of the team? I really like to me, right? It has always seemed to me like Rex Ryan has had an axe to grind with Shador Sanders, man. You know, like he's always and bro, this is you know, going back a long ways, man. This is going back a hell of a long ways. This is not something that is just happening in a vacuum with Shador Sanders, man. You know, Rex Ryan, you know, said the kid runs his mouth, said I could be the starting quarterback and all this other stuff, you know, and this goes back to a long ways, man. This goes along ever since Shador's came into the league. You know, Rex Ryan has always really had a real huge problem with the kid. And I gotta ask yourself, why? 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 Like the problem with the National Football League, and I understand that football is a sport where guys have to all kind of fall in line. They got to dance to the same sheet of music, right? They have to be themselves in a sense, right? I mean, they have to be themselves, but they have to be themselves within a team construct, right? I really believe, man, that you have guys like Rex Ryan, Foot Sex Rex. It is okay if Rex Ryan is boisterous. It is okay if he is, you know, cocksure and he is confident and he is a self-promoting. Like, this is a guy who would never shut up when he was the coach of the New York Jets. It's a guy who would never shut up when he was the coach. I mean, anybody in the New York, New Jersey area, do you guys remember Rex Ryan being the head coach? Nobody in his family shuts up. This is a guy who never shut up. This is a guy who always promoted himself, right? This is also a guy that, you know, you sit up there and then people point to nepotism, right? This is a guy who benefited from nepotism in the National Football League, definitely. People forget that Rex Ryan's father is one of the greatest defensive coordinators ever, Buddy Ryan. So when you look at Shador Sanders, Rex Ryan, you're looking at you with a whole lot more talent because you couldn't play in the National Football League. You couldn't play in the National Football League, Foot Sex Rex. It's crazy. And listen, I like Rob Ryan and Rex. Look, Rex was a decent coach, but this is a guy that ran his mouth more than any head coach I've ever seen in my life. When you start talking about levels of professionalism, I mean, Rex Ryan has a lot of goddamn nerve. Look, if you want to talk about Nepo, baby, and this is the thing, it bothers me when people call Shador Sanders and guys like Bronny James Nepo babies, as if the people that are calling them that can play even one fucking snap in the National Football League. It's some of the guys that it kills me, bro. Like, yo, you guys can't make one basket. You can't advance the football. You couldn't play one fucking snap in the National Football League. How dare you criticize these guys? Are they as good as their fathers? No. But my God, but Rex Ryan got a free pass for going after Bill Belichick. And then, yeah, they beat the Patriots one year. But, I mean, effectively getting dominated. Effectively getting freaking dominated, bro. Yo, you never really beat the Patriots in any real way. But it's crazy, bro. It is crazy. Foot Sex Rex himself has all of this vitriol and smoke for Shedeur Sanders. But there's a reason why you're sitting at a desk right now, right? And the reason why you're a contributor at ESPN and you're not a head coach right now. Because you put your ego before the product, Rex. But I think it's very dismissive for people to say like guys like Shedeur Sanders are in the league because they're father. That's crazy to me. And salute to my guy, Chris, for Raiders, gifted 5 Raider Nation Unlimited Wasted Talent memberships to the masses, man. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you, man. My guy, Chris, for Raiders. Love getting wasted with Wasted. Raider Nation. Appreciate you, my dog. Appreciate you, man. Yo, George Serro, I don't know why you wouldn't be able to get your... Listen, bro. The membership, the link's right there. I don't know what's going on, my brother. CGR goes, the one Nepo baby I despise is Bronny. Why is Bronny James? Look, we're talking ball right now, but I need for you to explain to me why Bronny James is a punk. What has he ever done? A lot of the problems that you guys have with Bronny James is because you don't like his dad. And it's not his fault, bro. That's not his fault. That is not Bronny James's fault, bro. I think, look, man, and I'm gonna get off of this subject. It's fourth and way, so we're talking NFL here. But when you talk about Bronny James and LeBron James, that kid is getting direction from his dad, right? I have children. I got children, bro. I have children that are older, right? And just because your kids are supposedly adults don't mean they're really adults, right? Bronny James is a kid who was one of the best high school players in his country. He goes to USC. He goes there on his own village. He's a very good player. He gets a side effect or something. He had an issue with his heart. We don't want to talk about why, right? But at the end of the day, he had that. He didn't really play the year he had at USC. And then his father strong arms the Lakers, so to speak. Now, when Bronny James is good enough to make an NBA roster, you can't tell me that Bronny James is bad enough where he can't be the 11th guy off the bench. But the biggest thing is that he probably should have went back to college and established himself more. He probably should have took more of a control of his career. But if you're going to hate anybody, blame that on LeBron James, because I feel like it's very selfish. It's already hard enough being named after your father. It's already hard enough having to walk in the footsteps of one of the 3 best players that play the game, right? And then you put him in an untenable situation, man. You put him in a situation where it's like, yo, no matter what that kid does, they're like, oh, he's horrible. He's terrible. It's like, bro, you can't get on an NBA court if you're horrible. And people say G League scrub. It's like, bro, a guy that's in the G League will bust in y'all ass. And I played a lot of hoop. Let me tell you something, bro. A guy that plays Division II basketball will cook you. Will cook you, bro. Have you guys ever seen some of them videos of Brian Scalabrine just cooking people, bro? Man, give me a fucking break, man. He's a kid who should have got a chance to earn his bones on his own, like Scottie Pippen's son, in anonymity, bro. Or went to college and got drafted. But there's always going to be that specter of does he belong because of the way his dad went about it. And I don't blame Bronny James for that. And I don't think it's fair to do that. Salute to everybody in the chat, man. Yeah. LeBron James is one of the 3 best players to ever play this game, bro. I will confidently say that. Yes, to me, he is. He's one of the 3 best I've ever seen. His resume and what he's done in this game, bro. Like y'all might not like LeBron, but y'all got to be honest with yourselves, bro. LeBron is absolutely, he's a great player, bro. He's a great player. But let's get into the NFL now, guys. What I wanted to do. This is what I wanted to do, guys. I needed to get into some of the veterans that are still out on the free agency market. Now, guys, camp is about to start July the 23rd, the Raiders rookies report, right? And there are a lot of unsigned There are a lot of unsigned veterans, man. There were a lot of unsigned NFL veterans, and I wanted to get into that, man. There are a lot of unsigned vets, man. Bro, it to the point where, yo, it's a strange league right now, bro. You got guys like Stephon Diggs still out there, Debo Samuels, Taylor Decker, Joey Bosa, Kenny Moore. From my understanding, Bobby Wagner is still available. You know, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins, Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, Zeitler. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are out there, man. Von Miller is still out there, man. And we got to ask ourselves, man. We got to ask ourselves, man. Teams are installing their offenses right now. Teams are about to start holding positional battles, right? And we got some guys that are going to get picked up, right? Because you want to kind of lean on your youth on your team, right? And teams are probably going to dive back into that free agent pool. And it might feel like free agency all over again, you know? But there's several quality players out there, man. And many of these guys need to find a new home. And I wanted to kind of get into some of the guys that are out there that are still available. And if you guys feel like, you know, where they would fit, where you could see them going, right? Like you got a guy out there in Jadeveon Clowney, right? That's still available. Now, Jadeveon Clowney is the guy that would be a perfect target, you know, for a team that needs another defensive end, right? Like he's always kind of been a mercenary throughout his career after, you know, the beginning of his career didn't work out the way we thought. You know, we thought that Jadeveon Clowney was going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, right? And he never really became that centerpiece that people thought he would with the Houston Texans when he was the first overall pick in 2014. But he's been a very productive player. Now, Jadeveon Clowney is, if any team worth his salt, if you need some pass rush help, that is a guy you might want to take a look at. Now, he played 13 games last year for the Dallas Cowboys. He finished with 12 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks, 22 quarterback pressures. And, you know, he could still play the whole game. He's not just a situational pass rusher. He's very, very disruptive, and he's a force against the run. But you got to ask yourself, if you're a National Football League team, do you want to invest the money in a Jadeveon Clowney? Because Jadeveon Clowney comes at a certain price point. He definitely does. A salute to my guy, Jamba Juice, man. He goes, didn't I see your Knicks play fighting in the WWE? Yeah, for that bag. Look, man, listen, bro, I'm not going to take any of your disrespect to the world champions, bro. Last time I checked, Knicks still world champions, bro. So go on ahead and sip that old stale Jamba Juice, my man. You better get the F up out of here with your crap. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. The Knicks in 5, you bum. I mean, you better get the F up out of here, man. What happened? Who y'all snipe up in here, man? What's going on up in here, man? Salute to everybody in the chat. Get wasted with your brother Wasted. This is Fourth and Wasted. We are covering the entire NFL. This is what we do here. This is what we do here at least one time a week, man. And this is something that we're going to continue to do, man. This is something we're going to continue to do, man. Y'all snipe Bodega Raider. Leave Bodega alone, man. What's wrong with you guys, man? Leave my guy Bodega alone, man. Bodega doing his thing, man. He doing his Dougie. Don't do Bodega like that, man. I mean, the guy can't have a damn opinion. Leave Bodega alone, man. Salute to my guy Bodega, man. But nah, man. Listen, let's really get into this, man. So we got a lot of free agents that are still out there, right? And look, you know, Mike Nando says Ryan Clark fired too much of a push of the racial narrative. I mean, look, we're gonna get back into the free agents, but I want to respond with Mike Nando's saying. Mike Nando, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I think that's a tone deaf way to look at what Ryan Clark did when he was up there. I don't necessarily think that he's pushing some racial narrative. Just because you have an opinion and you are a proud person, you know what I mean? You're proud of who you are. We all should be proud of who we are. We all should be proud of who we are. You should be proud of who you are. Just because I love me don't mean I hate you. You know what I mean? Ryan Clark, a lot of times, and I explained this earlier on the show, right? When you come from a community and you go out there in your community and you have opinions, you have conversations with people in your community, and there's a hot button issue out there, and they want you to speak on it, and they put a microphone in your face and they ask you your opinion about it, and he gives you his real opinion about it. That doesn't make him a guy who's trying to bait anybody. That's just his opinion, bro. He should be entitled to that. Just like there's a lot of other people on the other side of the aisle and the other side of the issue who are going to give you their opinions, right? So I think that in this social media world, I think we've gotten a bit soft in society, bro. I believe we gotten a bit soft, and I believe that we don't want to hear the truth because we sit in a world where your algorithm determines what your viewpoint of the world is. Whatever you're into, when you see people that are online and they have a certain opinion and they politically align with you, right? Or they socially align with you or whatever, right? You get almost like seduced into the fact that you feel like everyone agrees with you. You think everybody agrees with you. And then when you see something that is ulterior to what you believe, then what winds up happening is that, yo, you almost like, yo, what do you mean you believe this? Everyone else agrees with me. That is not the way this world was, bro. We used to be like I believe, man, growing up, bro. Look, I have people that I have very, very close relationships with that are raised very differently than me. People that are different, that are different, and we get along fine, and we don't always agree. And the basis of me being friends with them does not mean that we got to be this echo chamber. Most of my friends I don't agree with. And I think that's what makes things interesting. I think we've gotten away from that on national television. I think we've gotten away from that in America. And I don't mean to make this some op-ed on American society. We're talking sports, right? But I definitely believe that because somebody has beliefs that are strong and they are opposite of you does not mean that you condemn them and try to define them by the differences of their opinion, bro. Seriously, man. Now let's get off that subject, man. That's not why. I don't think that's why Ryan Clark got fired. If we're being honest, Ryan Clark got fired because the NFL Network the NFL Network was bought by ESPN, and you got a ton of guys who played in the league over there. You got tons of guys who have contract issues. You got a ton of guys that over there that probably, ESPN had to kick out some major coin to procure that network and pay these guys. So they got to trim the fat. How many different guys do you need? And I believe a lot of the coverage of the league, right, is going to be kind of shared, right? It reminds me of when ABC bought ESPN. And you have a lot of guys like Mike Tirico, right? Before ABC had them, Mike Tirico was on ESPN. But then, Robin Roberts, who became the host of Good Morning America, all of those old ESPN, blue bloods who were over there, they all got bought up and they were on, ABC. I believe that it's going to be a cross-pollination of on-air talent. And you have some guys over there that are big fish, right? And you got guys like Stephen A. Smith that are making an exorbitant amount of money. You got guys like Pat McAfee, who's going to be making $60 million a year. They got to trim the fat somewhere, bro. They do. And like we said, Disney could be losing money because at the end of the day, you guys are right here with me right now. You could be watching ESPN, but you're here with me, right? Because you want to hear sports in a way that a person who doesn't have an axe to grind or doesn't have a narrative to push, right? It's just information. It's real conversations, right? It's not debate and bullshit. But it's getting way out of control, right? And I believe that there's a part of America where everything is so oversaturated where it all loses its luster. It's losing its luster, man. We need to we're losing the plot with everything. we are really losing the plot, bro. We need to get back to like, yo, let's just talk about the X's and O's and the Jimmys and Joes. Information, not affirmation. Now that you already know. Salute to everybody in the chat. Get wasted with your brother Wasted. So let's get back to it, guys. So the best available free agents, right? And look, you got guys like Taylor Decker out there. Now, Taylor Decker is a guy who became available this offseason, right? And he was a starter. He was under contract for the 2026 season, but he was granted his release. And he and the team kind of failed to revise his contract. And they asked Decker to take a pay cut, and I don't think he was agreeable to that. Now, Taylor Decker turns 33 next month. He's capable. He is a guy who can be a starter in this league. You know, Decker only allowed 2 sacks in 2025. He graded out as the 41st overall best offensive tackle from Football Focus. I got to take that with a grain of salt. I think he's a lot better than that. But at this point in his career, Taylor Decker could make a lot of sense for any team who is trying to get to the next level, or any team who has like some issues right now. When I think about, and guys, you know, this is still a Raider channel, and we always got to go back to our Raiders. You got to ask yourself, right? Would you consider Taylor Decker, right? Like, and I'm not saying that, you know, I think DJ Glaze is a guy for the Raiders who is going to do a phenomenal job. But is Taylor Decker a guy that the Raiders should kind of kick the tires on just in case, right? Just to kind of hedge your bet, because it's kind of seemed like the Raiders have done that. I feel like the Raiders, you know, having guys like Jordan Meredith in the house, right? They you know, going out there and signing a guy like Spencer Burford. Like these are guys that you really, you know, can kind of like hang your hat on and say, hey man, I know at the very minimum, I got a guy who started in this league on my roster, right? And I'm gonna be honest with you, I would love to see how this young talent works out, right? But if we're going to do that with the quarterback position, right, there's so much more riding on the success of this offensive line. It's almost like the weight of the world is on this offensive unit up front, man. And Joe DeCamillo is going to have his hands cut out. I mean, his work cut out for him. Seriously. You know, I really have a lot of faith in DJ Glaze. You know, Charles Grant, all of these young guys, man. I'm very excited about these young guys, man. But at the end of the day, the Raiders have to make sure that that situation up front is solvent. They got to make sure that that situation up front is viable, and they got to make sure that at the very minimum, they're able to run the football, because this is going to be a run-first football team. Believe you me, man. Believe you me. Salute to my guy, Joe Estrada, man. He goes, what's up with the JPJ situation? We need to pick up another O-lineman. Look, we don't know yet what's up with JPJ. The thing is that, you know, the one thing that this new regime is not doing with the Raiders is they're not handing out praise. They're not handing out hope. They're not doing any of that. They're not doing any of that. We don't know if we're good on O-line yet. We don't know, right? But the thing is that you can't make or surmise anything until they put pads on. You can't make or surmise anything. You can't make an informed opinion until they hit. It's all fun and games until it's time for somebody to get hit. Seriously. You know, like, so look, for me, when you start talking about JPJ, right, you're talking about a mental situation there. You're not talking about a physical situation, because, you know, JPJ is one of the most gifted guys that I've seen come in a very, very long time. Seriously. And they say he's versatile, right? But that remains to be seen, right? Because if there's a mental gaps and a mental lapse, we've watched games get lost by one mistake. And David Walker brings up a tremendous point, man. He goes, the first scrimmage is against the Texans. That will tell the coaches a lot about where we are. Yeah, because the Texans from 1 to 11, I mean, my God, there isn't a more talented defensive unit in the league, man. Will Anderson and that group, man, at all three levels of the defense. And Big Mike said it right, man. That whole he's the Remington Award winner, that goes out the window, man. He's a guard. He has to establish himself in the league as a guard. And do I believe that Jackson Powers Johnson is a better guard than Trey Zoon III, Caleb Rogers? Do I think he's better than Spencer Burford? He should be. But do I know that to be true? No. And this is the problem. I think a lot of us are using the currency of what happened 2 years ago. And that those days are gone. It's a new coaching staff and a new regime in here, and he has to perform, man. He has to perform. I'm telling you right now, like, guys, look, hearkening back to all of this stuff, from the Ryan Clark situation to the Rex Ryan situation, right? And even with Jackson Powers Johnson, there are a lot of people who attack me about my views on Jackson Powers Johnson, man. You have to give at every step of the way fair football analysis, right? And it can't be personal. And you can't be trying to, script a narrative that's built for your particular platform, bro. Seriously. Seriously, man. So, but let's get back to it, guys. Big Mike says he doesn't think he's a scheme fit. There are a lot of people who feel like that. And God, this show was brought to you by Prize Picks, man. Play $5, get $50 instantly in lineups. Use code HMA. The link is in the chat and in the description, guys. This show is brought to you by Prize Picks, everybody. But we don't know, right? So we're out there, and I'm still, jumping around. But let's not jump around, guys. I need to know something, right? What do you guys think about some of these vets that are out there, man? Stephon Diggs is somebody we've spoken about that. Trayvon Diggs is a guy I'm staying away from. Tyreek Hill is a guy I'm staying away from. Von Miller is somebody I kick the tires on in a situal pass rush situation. Deebo Samuel is the only one I would even consider, but I would probably stay away from him. Yo, Kyle Van Noy is out there. Now, Kyle Van Noy is a guy that I would really think about. He's been in the league 12 years. He's like an all-around kind of a linebacker, man. He's been more of a pass rush specialist. And he's a guy that, can really, really, really beef up this Raider pass rush, and they're going to need that. Now, in the last 3 years, Kyle Van Noy has had 23.5 sacks, 54 quarterback pressures, man. I mean, that is tremendous production. Bobby Wagner is still out there. Now, Bobby Wagner is going to walk into the Hall of Fame, first ballot, right? But you got to ask yourself something. You got to ask yourself something, man. Are the Raiders and all the rest of these teams out here, whether you're a Browns fan, do you start kicking the tires on some of these guys early before, their injuries or things like that? Do you want to get one of these guys in early? I'm surprised there's not a lot of takers on some of these guys. Now, I know, listen, this is a young man's league, right? And I think there are a lot of people who don't realize that. I think that there are a lot of people who don't realize, the day of the diva receiver and the day of the diva player, or the day of the guy that holds out for, I think the league is stripping away at that. The league is stripping away at that, man. Now, guys, let's get into one of the last subjects for the show. And salute to my guy Mila Lomain, bro. If the new regime has issues with JPJ, it may be a mental processing problem. That would suck, and it would. See, the thing that sucks more for me would be him going and developing somewhere else. That would be the crusher for me, man. And salute to my guy Hug Dizzle, 250 gems. Laughing Disco. Thank you, Hug D's. I don't know what that is, but I appreciate you, my brother. Appreciate you. for keeping the lights on here, man. Leave Bodega alone, right? And Joe Strada, yeah, listen, I'm asking you guys, do you think the Raiders should start kicking the tires on some? Because there's a lot of hopium going around the building, and the Raiders are definitely trying to win, right? Nobody's trying to tank for Arch Manning. If we're trying to compete for something, I think you got to keep your eye on the pulse of what's going on out there. So we got to see what goes on with the Kobe Dean and all these guys. You know, Keenan Allen's still out there. So look, we have to start talking about the Brandon Aiyuk situation. Now, Brandon Aiyuk trolls the 49ers. He says he won't return to the power plant. You know, coach want me to come back so I can draw all the coverage and make it easy for guys. I'm going to show you guys this, man. I'm going to show you guys this. Now, I want to ask you guys your opinion on this, right? This is Brandon Aiyuk's Twitter. He goes, the coach want me to come back so I can draw all the coverage, make it easy for the guys that remind him of himself back in his heyday. They was like, BA, we're taking 30 mil out of your contract. I was like, okay. The NFLPA was like, do you want to appeal it to try to get back? I was like, nah, I'm just going to go to DC. They was like, okay, we're going to start a smear campaign to try and tarnish your NIL. I was like, okay, that's going to make me sad, but I'm still going to DC. Now, bro, this is the crazy thing, bro. And when I see this whole thing with Brandon Aiyuk, and I don't know this to be true, right? I don't. But what I'm seeing here from Brandon Aiyuk is a guy who is deeply, deeply troubled. And he's a guy that is, to me, looks like he's going through like almost a mental episode. And this is one of the reasons why every time, you know, as a Raider fan or as a Giant fan or whatever, right? Or if you're a Jet fan, if you're a 40, not even before now, the Redskins, whomever, right? Denver Bronco fan, every time there is a big name wide receiver out there, everybody always says to go get them. And more often than not, this is the behavior that you get from a lot of these diva wide receivers, man. A lot of these high-priced guys are guys that you and and I'm going to talk Raiders ball because this is getting towards the end of the show. You guys know at the end of the show, we always talk Raiders, right? These are guys you need to avoid, man. These are guys you need to listen. The money has become a thing that has been great for players. And I love to see people make as much as they can. I love that. But I believe if he does not have issues, right? Because it reminds me a lot of Antonio Brown. I think that there's an epidemic with the amount of money because these guys are getting life-changing money right out the bat before they've even proven themselves. And when they get they say that money in life amplifies your true self. And I believe a lot of these wide receivers, once they're humble, they're grinding, it's all good. But when they get to a point where they've been paid and they feel like they have generational wealth, it changes everything. And this is one of the reasons why when you guys bringing in guys like this, bringing in, and I'm not saying that Deebo Samuels is anywhere near what he is, right? But when you start talking about bringing in these guys, this is why the answer to me is always no. Seriously. It was always no. It was always no. And that's just my personal opinion on that, man. And it's like, bro, you see this stuff and then you ask yourself, right? What is going through the mind of a lot of these young guys? What is going through the mind of a lot of these people? You know, like, I don't know if you guys saw this, right? But you know, listen, I was I was over wait, so I was over, at Fanatics Fest, left because it was about to start flooding. My daughter actually got tickets for me. My daughter got tickets for me for Fanatics Fest and stuff like that. And Cam Scatterbull was at Fanatics Fest, right? And this is a young player, right? So we're going to show this. Well, hold on. Let me remove that. And we're going to show you guys something. Because listen, this is fourth and wasted, guys. This is fourth and wasted. But I don't know if you guys saw this. But this is Cam Scatterbull. Cam Scatterbull, look at his leg. Did a backflip. Did a backflip and missed. Let me ask you guys something, man. What do you guys think about Cam Scatterbull and what he just did, man? Yo, Chris Four Raiders, man, appreciate you, man, with the 5 gifted slapper rooms to everybody else. Appreciate y'all, man. Thank you, bro. Chris is the GOAT, man. Appreciate you for keeping the lights on here at Raider Nation Unlimited, bro. And you're making the Wasted Town Army grow in droves. But we got to ask ourselves something, right? You got Brandon Aiyuk not making sound decisions, right? You got guys like Dante Whitner coming out and pretty much saying his career is over. And I think it is, right? Cam Scatterbull is a young player, bro. Jackson Dart not making sound decisions. Right? Like, bro, look, man, some of these guys got I believe I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. And look, and it's just from a league perspective. What is going on with some of these guys out here? Like, don't you understand everyone's watching? Don't you get that your leg is hurt? So if you hurt your leg doing some shit like that and you're out for the season and the Giants void your contract, what would be going through your head? This is the early stages of your career. You're an undersized running back, right? You know, he's a bruiser, but it's not like he's Derrick Henry. The guy runs like he's Christian Okoye or something like that. You got to ask yourself, man. Just the way Jackson Dart plays. Jackson Dart didn't do anything now, but the way Jackson Dart plays, bro, it's not conducive to being on the field. You got to ask yourself, man. You got to ask yourself. I don't think Cam Scatterbull is going to be in the NFL a long time. You know, and look, man, scared money don't make money. I get it. But, man, my God, man, what is going on in this league where these guys are acting like no one else can see what they're doing? What is going on, Brandon Aiyuk? You go out there, you disrespect Jaden Daniels, and you think that now the Commanders are going to bring you in. What is going on with Cam Scatterbull when you've already been hurt early in your career and you do something like that? Do you think the New York Giants are going to sign him to a second contract? Probably not. They're like, this guy's raising it. They're going to squeeze all the juice they can out of his talent, and they're going to get rid of him and cast him aside. And I guarantee you, if Cam Scatterbull doesn't play early in the season and put up over 1,200 yards, Cam Scatterbull, they're going to draft another running back. Seriously, they're going to draft another player. 100% they are. 100% they are. And this is the thing, man. The relationship with and let me get back to Brandon Aiyuk because I kind of jumped all over the place here, right? Whether the 49ers trade him, keep him, or completely move on, right? I don't necessarily know if Brandon Aiyuk is in a place publicly where any team would take a real. I don't think I don't think you can have a team take a real swing on that guy. You like knowing what we know now, right? Knowing how the salary, you have a hard cap sport, knowing how this is going for so many people around this league, you almost can't bring in an aging wide receiver unless he has the right temperament. It's crazy. It seems like when he got his money, he just went nuts, right? Salute to my guy DeMarcus, man. Let them learn the lesson. All part of make a life decision. Yeah, DeMarcus, they definitely are. They definitely are, man. You gotta ask yourself, man. My guy Kane Town, because I don't think Aiyuk plays again, honestly. The Niners are gonna cut him, recoup some cash, and he's done. This is AB all over again. This is even worse, right? And I wonder if the 49ers are in a position to be able to recoup some of the money, right? Because of contract detrimental to the team. Could they void the remaining years? Is this a salary cap thing? It's just something we got to ask ourselves, right? Listen, yeah, I remember a lot of years of George Seifert screaming for Young to go out of bounds. Yeah, man. Steve Young was a dog, though, man. That's one guy I can never say anything bad about is Steve Young. That's that to me, Steve Young, one of the nicest lefties to ever play the game, man. Him and the snake. Thomas, he goes, if we want a number, now you guys want to before I get out of here, you guys want to talk about that real quick? I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, listen, what I would love Justin Jefferson to be in the Raiders, right? But what does that really mean for us? Right? What are you giving up to get Justin Jefferson? Right? Look, I prefer we live in a world, we got Dante Thornton, you know, we got Malik Benson. We got some talent in this wide receiver room. We got some talent in this wide receiver room, man. We don't need to go out there and bring in the land of misfit toys here. We really don't. And we also live in a world where Brock Bowers is on this football team. Now, guys, I don't know if you guys heard about this, right? But they're doing the top 100, right? They're doing the top 100. And, you know, Bo Nix rose in the top 100 rankings while, you know, Brock Bowers kind of fell at their sophomore seasons, right? And some people are saying Brock Bowers is being underrated, but Brock Bowers was hurt a lot last year. And that's going to affect your ranking, right? Now, Bo Nix got hurt at the end of the season. Brock Bowers got hurt in the middle of it. I think the perception is a little different. Now, Bo Nix did play well last year. He improved, and I understand why Bo Nix has kind of been raised in the public consciousness and thought about more highly from his peers, right? But look, when you start talking about these rankings, man, it's a lot of recency bias, and it's a lot of, you know, players that, you know, don't really know the ins and outs of what's going on, right? But if you're hurt, you're not going to be looked at the same way. That's just how it is, right? And you know, with Brock Bowers, man, I think that this year you will get the very best from Brock Bowers. You're going to get the very, very, very best because, you know, if Kirk Cousins does nothing else, he gets the ball to his tight end. And I believe that Fernando Mendoza is also that kind of quarterback. I believe that Brock Bowers eats this year. I really do. I believe Brock Bowers is going to show everybody in the National Football League exactly why he is the best tight end in this league. It was voted on by a lot of GMs, right? And by, you know, Brock Bowers falling in a little top 100 says more about how these rankings and how people overvalue the quarterback kind of goes. I believe a lot of this stuff is about people over ranking quarterbacks. I mean, every year the MVP of the league damn near is a freaking quarterback. Like, why? Why is it always the quarterback? So I think when you talk about the rankings, there's some players that got better. There are new players. And you have a situation like with Bo Nix where he did get better and he played well. He played well, man. So, man, look, to me, it's much to do about nothing. I need for Brock Bowers to get back in there and get back in the game. I need for Brock Bowers to really turn up and show everybody why he was drafted as high as he was. I need for Brock Bowers to be a superstar. And I need for Ashton Genty to be a superstar this year, man. Totally believe that. And I'm going to be honest with you. With all of these weapons and all of these, this is one of the things that when we talk about other iterations of the Raiders, you know, even we go back to the Antonio Pierce team, this team has so much talent on the offensive side of the ball. Untapped talent. Untapped talent, man. But look, guys, to put a pin in this, was Brock Bowers disrespected? No, he was hurt. Has he kind of fallen victim to quarterbacks being overrated and a guy as devastating as him being underrated, absolutely, guys, absolutely. But guys, listen, it's just 4th and wasted, man. 4th and wasted. We talked about a lot around the NFL. I just, man, I think it's a great show, man. Salute to all you guys. Look, man, I think it's about time for us to get out of here tonight, man. Salute to everybody in the chat. Appreciate you guys, man, for being a captive audience the whole show. We got almost 300 in the room, and we are not even talking Raiders on a Raider football channel. Look, I need for you guys to do me a favor, because I'm going to run a Raider show too. I need for you guys to do me a favor. All of your friends and family who are diehards of other teams, share this thing out. Share this thing out. We're going to pull a train to the station. Appreciate you guys. Salute to Demokes. Salute to Bodega Raider. Salute to CGR. Salute to my guy Abe, Leaky. I mean, all you guys, man. Appreciate you guys. We're going to be getting back at y'all. And also, guys, I am going to be on TikTok tonight. I'm going to be on TikTok tonight. I'm going to be dropping another pre-recorded video. We are going to really turn up the production over here at Raider Nation Unlimited. Do me a favor too, guys. If you guys are not subscribed, going over to my other backup channel. My backup channel is going to become the NFL channel. I'm going to cover, as much of the NFL as I can. But you guys know, 4th and Wasted, or is it Raider Nation Unlimited? It's always about the Raiders, man. It's always about the Raiders. So listen, guys, you guys have a great night. We out of here. Go. Yeah, please subscribe to the Fallback channel. There's the link right there in the chat. Everybody that's in the chat. If you guys get that channel up to 500 subscribers, that channel also will be monetized. I'd appreciate if you guys can get us there. We're going to be dropping a whole bunch of NFL content. DeMarcus Webb. And DeMarcus Webb, I'm gonna do a members only boxing show too, probably tomorrow night. But who I got? Keyshawn Davis versus Devin Haney. I got Keyshawn, bro. I got Keyshawn, man. I think he's going to look. No politics outside of it. I think Keyshawn Davis is. It's something about Devin Haney, bro, where I feel like ever since he was a kid, he's fool's gold. I think the boy don't have no chin, and I think that Devin Haney has been moved the right way by his dad. Now, Devin Haney's probably going to win because he's going to weight bully Keyshawn Davis. But man, you know what, DeMarcus? Look, Keyshawn Davis is dangerous, bro. And if there's no politics involved, and they just call it how that they see it, Devin Haney could be in some trouble, bro. But guys, we're gonna do a boxing show tomorrow. We're gonna get into it, man. And CGR said the wasted word of the day. This isn't Raider Nation Unlimited. So we're not gonna do the wasted word of the day here, y'all. But salute, y'all. Salute, y'all. And I messed up too. I didn't change the background. This is 4th and Wasted, man. And I got the wrong background. But salute to y'all. We're gonna be back at you guys with Raider Nation Unlimited tomorrow. Pull up on me on TikTok. If you guys aren't members on TikTok, make sure you pull up, and we're going to be doing a boxing show too, y'all. But we are out of here, man. Y'all have a great night, man. Peace.